everybody, and it's the day after the BIKC regional finals down at Brighton. And boy, do we have some things to talk about today. We've got the whole package. We've got controversy, we've got cheating, we've got protests on the track. We've got some questionable moves, including some by me that I want to discuss. And yeah, it was quite a lot of drama, to be honest. Now we got there just at the end of the lightweights. We managed to catch their final and a little bit of the lightweight semi-finals, I think. So just wanted to interject for a second. Just found out that Johnny from the heavyweights actually got through to the grand final. So massive congratulations to Johnny. Massive congratulations to Amelia, who got through from the lightweights, and a big shout out to Luke. He done really well in the lightweights. Ended up not having a very good time in the finals, and unfortunately didn't make it. But he was driving bang on all day. So massive congratulations to you guys. There may have been a third one that got through. The Docklands Instagram post said 3 drivers, but they only mentioned Johnny and Amelia. So I don't know who the last one might have been, but I'll try and find out. I can't seem to find a Brighton Instagram page, so I have no idea how I can find out the results from yesterday. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was talking about. So there was something that had already happened before we got there, a little bit questionable. Now, I'm not going to mention any names in this. It's not really relevant who it was or uh, who they are. But basically, there was a couple of unhappy drivers, which is going to happen if you don't get through, of course. But we were sort of drawn to the attention of what had happened, and so we were watching the final, and the same person kept doing the same move over and over again, and it was starting to annoy quite a lot of people. And basically, what they were doing is they were ramming people on the beginning of the corner and then sending them wide and then diving down the inside and making a questionable move to overtake. And a few protests were lodged for this, but their argument was that the cars were the overtaking car was more than 50% alongside, which is the rule that they've made, is you have to be more than 50% alongside the car before the apex, or that point that they turn in. And if you're more than 50%, then it's a fair move. The thing that I think the thing that was causing the controversy is that the move previous, where they were getting rammed, and we did see this happen ourselves. Obviously, we were told that it had already happened previously, and then we watched it happen at least 3 times in the final race. So this person was ramming people in a straight line, like, well, not in a straight line, like directly on the bumper, and then diving down the inside and making a so-called legitimate move. And this happened several times, and it upset a lot of drivers. There was a lot of drivers annoyed about this. So it went to protests and things, and in the end, the BIKC staff ended up just refusing to talk about it any longer. Time had passed, the podium had already been done, and they sort of ended it and said, like, we're not dealing with it anymore. Now the thing is, the last few years, something that we've really liked about the BIKC is that they've been really strict on contact and the rules, and they've been like really, I'm saying super strict on any sort of contact, so any sort of bashing from behind would have been pulled up. There would have been penalty points given. There would have been, even drive-through penalties. I can't remember if they run drive-through penalties last year in BIKC, but I think they did. But any sort of contact, apart from maybe the first corner being a little bit forgiving, where everyone's piling into a first corner, there will be a bit of contact. But in previous years, contact has been taken really seriously, and they've been they've made the point that karting is a non-contact sport, so therefore the bashing from the rear, a little bit of contact happens and that will obviously be forgiven, but deliberately ramming people or using them as your mobile brake to send them offline and then making a dive is not a fair move. And although you can search YouTube and karting videos, and that is sometimes the recommendations that you'll get. And this is why I've mentioned it quite a lot in my videos, that these videos aren't really a representation of how you should drive. In public sessions or certain places, it might be a way that you use to overtake, but karting is meant to be a non-contact sport. So there was basically a massive issue over that. There was a lot of angry drivers, and like seriously angry drivers, to the point where people were having to go in and chill out. Um, so that was all the lightweights. So we got through that, and we went to the driver briefing, where obviously these issues were brought up. The fact that they'd spent a lot of time arguing about things. So it was made very, very clear to us that protests wouldn't be talked about for too long. There was emphasis put on the fact that if you do protest, you're going to be delaying everyone else. So it was almost like guilt tripping people into not protesting. The protest system, I think, is already pretty fair. If you want to protest something, you have to pay £10. Now, I don't know. I didn't really look at it too much this year, but in previous years, I believe the way it worked is you paid £10 to protest something, and if your protest was upheld, you got your £10 back, and if it wasn't, then it went to charity or something like that, which I think was a perfectly fair way of doing it. But after what had happened with the lightweights, they'd got very annoyed about the protests coming in because several people had protested this same driver, because of what I was, what we've already discussed. Um, so it was made very clear to us that they wouldn't really be entertaining protests. They didn't want us to protest. It became very evident. We were told, we were guilt tripped into saying that if you make a protest about something, it's going to delay the racing for everyone else. And this will become very relevant to what happens in very soon. So, we were given all the lecture in briefing about this. And we were told, my decision is final. Don't argue with my decision. Once I've made a decision, that's it. There's no arguing. There's no coming back from it. It was all very clear cut. And there was obviously a big emphasis on weight. Now, there's something that I've said the last couple of years. This is the third year now that I've done the BIKC in the middleweight class. And there's always been, you can look at people and think, cool, I'm surprised that that person weighs this category. Seen it in the middleweights and heavyweights where people are maybe very borderline, and they're it's a very skinny frame or very small, and you think, cool, blimey, I'm surprised that that person weighs that. Now I do know 2 years ago when it was held in Brighton again, the weight limit is 75 kilos for middleweight. Now, they allowed 2 kilo leeway back then, and believe, I could be wrong here, but as far as I remember, the person that won the middleweight category weighed 73 kilos in a 75 kilo championship minimum weight. Now, last year they got very strict on it, and down in Farnborough, and they, as far as I know, they said there was no leeway. It was 75 or nothing. But there may have been some leeway written in the rules somewhere. I was not near the border. I was about 78 last year, so it wasn't too important to me to research that. Now this year, after what happened, it became apparent that there was a 5.5 kilo leeway in the weightings. And first off, I'm going to say I don't think they need a leeway in the weighting system. At the end of the day, the whole point is you must weigh over 75 kilos. Now, if you say that, oh, there's a 2 kilo buffer, or there's a zero point 0.5 kilo buffer or variance, well then it's not a 75 kilo minimum weight, is it? It's a 73 kilo minimum weight, or it's a 74.5 kilo minimum weight. If you choose a minimum weight, it should be a minimum weight. So now let's go to the weigh-ins. This is where I'm not going to mention any names again. It's not relevant. Just I think the situation is relevant, but who it was isn't really relevant at all. So someone weighed in. They came in below the 74.5, and then they acquired more weights by getting more kit to put on, and by, I believe, they downed like a significant amount of water in front of the marshals to bring their weight up. Now, there's a few, you know, there's a few opinions on this, but I will say after doing all that, they were still below 75 kilos. They weighed in at 74.9, I think, after adding more weight to themselves. Now, the thing is, right, we weren't allowed to weigh with seat cushions, which I believe are um, obviously they're a comfort thing, but they're also a safety thing. I wear one. I use one because it protects the sides of my ribs significantly. You know, I would be bruised and battered, like and moving around a lot in the seat. So I believe that they are a safety thing for driver comfort and protection. Now, the rules stated that we weren't allowed to weigh with the seat inserts, but you were allowed to weigh with our body armor and any other kit that you would be wearing. Now, this is where I personally disagree a little bit with this logic, because if we can't weigh with a seat that we're going to take into the cart, that's going to make us weigh more. But we can wear a load of body armor, knee pads, elbow pads, shoulder pads if you feel like it, like you're going into a rugby match or something like that, neck braces and things like that, right? If you can weigh with all of those, then why can't you weigh with the seat insert? You know, why doesn't the seat insert count towards your total weight if you can just put on a load more kit that contributes to your total weight? So, in my opinion, there's two things here that I would think would make it fair. One is you should be able to weigh with everything that you're taking into the cart with you. You know, that would include, I don't know, cameras on your helmet. You know, I had a camera on my helmet. Again, I was probably one of the heaviest here for the middleweight. I wasn't as committed to it this year as I was last year, and I was weighing in at 82.5 kilos. So I was 7.5 kilos over. I wasn't really worried about a few 100 grams of a camera. But I think people either need to be weighed with everything they're taking into the car, and that will include a seat insert, cameras, and any other sort of body armor and full riot gear that they're trying to wear. Which I don't think is the solution, because that will lead to people just putting loads of weight on themselves. But at least that would ensure that they're over the weight. But, you know, obviously ballast is a bad thing. So the other option is to make it so you only weigh in your boots, your gloves, your race suit, and your helmet, the necessary safety gear for going out and racing. And then if you want to wear your body armor, your neck braces, your knee pads, your shoulder pads, your wet gloves, your and everything else, you know, your seat insert, that's all extra weight into the cart, exactly the same way as the seat insert is extra weight into the cart. So I believe that's probably the fairest way. I can understand why some people might disagree with that, because they might say, well, why should I not wear safety gear to save weight? You know, that might be more dangerous or something. It's indoor karting. You don't go very fast. I used to wear a neck brace just because it would hold my helmet steadier, so it would actually make my camera footage better. I haven't been wearing it lately because mainly I lost it when I moved and I didn't know where I put it. And since then, I've just forgotten to bring it after I did find it, because it's not living in the boot of my car like my helmet and gloves are. So really the body armor and the neck braces and the knee pads and the shoulder pads, they are not necessary pieces of kit for your safety. And if they were, then they would be in the regulations to drive in the first place. So the fairest way to do it is to scrap all that, get people to take all this shit off that they're wearing just to get themselves to be heavier, you know. And this is the point. So the person that that didn't make weight was wearing rib protector, neck brace, knee pads, I think maybe elbow pads too. You know, the suit incorporated all the padding and everything. It was all extra weight, and all opportunities to add weight. And they still didn't make weight. So they were disqualified. Now, back to our briefing of not wasting time and not spending time arguing, and my decision is final and all this crap, right? They spent an hour and 10 fucking minutes arguing about this. An hour and 10 minutes, right? Now, I'm telling you, if it had been any other one of us on that grid that had this issue, we wouldn't have got the benefit of the doubt to argue for an hour and 10 minutes. Who the fuck do you think you are arguing for an hour and 10 minutes about something? Fucking everyone else's day up, right? People had places to be, you know, and although we were there for the event, you know, people were like, you know, we were all just standing there like, you know, what the fuck? We just want to get on track and race, right? You fucking argued for an hour and 10 minutes, right? And yeah, I am pissed off about it, you know, and I was getting pissed off standing there and I didn't say anything until right at the very end, and we'll get to that, right? But like everyone's standing there waiting to race, and we can understand delays and we'll deal with that, and if delays happen, you know, but you know, it got to the point where everyone was standing there after an hour and was like, you know what, you know, we've got places to be after this. We've, you know, the guy that come down with me, he had to pick his kid up and take his kid home, you know, because he was round his nan's because he'd gone to his nan's for the day, so he could come to BIKC. We were then late for that, so he had to make other arrangements for someone to take him home and all this. And it's like, it's just out of order that someone spent an hour and 10 minutes arguing about this and ruining everyone else's day, basically, right? So this person's supporters were very vocal as well, you know, and they tried to, you know, strong arm the decision by, you know, strength in numbers and all of that. You know, at one point they even, the person in question even tried to take it to a vote to the drivers. That was, oh well, why don't we let everyone vote on it and see if I can drive or not? You know, and again, it's just fucking, it's unneeded mental pressure, you know, because half of those people are probably standing there thinking, well, no, tough shit, mate. If you don't make weight, you don't make weight. Everyone knows what the weight is. Everyone's got some scales at home. And you can argue that the scales might not be 100% accurate or they might be different. But this is the point, right? This is why the half a kilo leeway is relevant, because that allows for variation in the scales, right? So they're not going to be more than half a kilo out. They all use the same sort of scales, and they're all relatively good scales, right? So that's the point of the variation allowance. It's not so you can stand there and be exactly half a kilo underweight and still get to race. It's there because there might be some variations in different scales, or your body weight will fluctuate a little bit during the day. It's not there for you to abuse and for you to take advantage of to try and get the upper hand on everyone else. You know, I don't give a shit. I have not been dedicated to this event. I had no aspiration to get through to the top three. You know, I was there because I got through. I didn't even think I was going to get through to the regionals this year, but I actually performed better at the locals than I ever have done. So, you know, we got there, and again, I was heavier for the locals. I was heavier for the regionals. That doesn't affect me at all. So the point is, if this person is so much better than everyone else and they're really as good as they say they are, then why can't they just make weight? Like, why can't they just either be in the lightweight category if they are a lightweight, or make sure that you're heavy enough in the middleweight? You know, you could have put some extra clothes on in the morning. You could have drunk that bottle of water 10 minutes before weighing. But when you are trying to be as light as absolutely possible just so you can win, you fucked it for yourself. You know, I'm being honest. You fucked it for yourself. And putting it to the driver's vote would have been completely unfair on the other drivers. And I'm glad that the staff nipped that in the bud straight away and said, no, that's not happening. Because, like I say, some people might have been okay for him to race. But at the end of the day, it's a championship that's got rules. And the rules were the minimum weight was 75 kilos, give or take half a kilo. Didn't make that. So that's the end of it. So an hour and 10 minutes. You know, I could rant about this for an hour and 10 minutes, but I'm not going to waste everyone's time because we've got other things that I want to talk about. But nearly moving on, we're nearly at the end of this drama because after about an hour, you know, the staff were trying to get going with it. They started calling drivers' names out to get them in the karts. Every time a name was called out, someone from the posse, let's call them the crew, started just shouting over the top of them. So they would call a name out, and this person would go, "Nope." They called another name, "Nope." They called another name, "Nope." Right. So after this, it was like, Jesus Christ, just let's get on the track. Let's do some racing. That's what we're here for. I'm not here for all the drama. I'm fed up with all this fucking drama shit. So, what happens next is they tried to stage a walkout, you know. So this foghorn that was being very vocal about it tries to get all of the rest of the people from that track that came with this driver, tries to get them all to walk out, right? And this is where it gets brilliant because she grabs her stuff and she starts walking. She's like, "Come on, let's go. No, we're not doing this." Gets halfway to the door and realizes that no one's fucking following her because those other drivers, they're there to race as well. They've paid their money. They've made the trip. They've got through regionals. They're not going to just walk out because another driver hasn't made weight. We all know the rules. We all know that you've got to be certain weight, and you know everyone's got scales or access to scales to check their weight, right? And yeah, you can argue, oh, we weighed them yesterday and it was 76 kilos. Yes, but body weight does change throughout the day. And I say, if it's that borderline, you need to make sure that you are over the weight. You know, that's how it is. Even after you're getting all your extra kit and everything to weigh yourself up, you still didn't make weight. You know, so it's like so this person tried to stage a walkout. It didn't work. So what was next? Oh, well, comes back with the camping chair, sets up the camping chair, plonks themselves down in the pit lane, blocks everyone from getting in the karts. And it was just like, you know what? It's been nearly an hour and 10 minutes now of this issue. You know, they had people on the phone, they had management on the phone. We were told, my decision is final. Don't argue with me. You know, I'm King Dick. So just fucking give it up, right? And I'm glad that after an hour and 10 minutes, this decision wasn't reversed because it had got so ridiculous by this point that we just, you know, it would have been an absolute mockery if they'd have then changed their mind and gone back on it. Because you can't just let someone argue their way out of it for an hour. And oh, they were coming up with the rules. Foghorn was coming up with the rules going, your rules state that all drivers must be weighed after they sign in, and that's it. And you know, and you didn't weigh them when they signed in. You're weighing them now at the side of the track. What the fuck? And sorry, but I've gone through the rules since then. The rules don't say that. It says a procedure. It says, oh, you will sign in and you will get weighed. It doesn't say you will get weighed precisely 30 seconds after you've signed in the reception area, and you won't be weighed again for the end of the day. I mean, why do you care if you're weighed again throughout the rest of the day? You know, are you cheating? Like, you know, are you going to get weighed once and go and lose a load of weight or something? And oh, we've got more. Don't worry, we're getting to that. We're getting to that. But yeah, so they threw everything. They threw the book. They were go, oh, we're just going by your rules. Your rules state this and blah blah blah. Oh, it was like, yeah. I mean, you know, people should have learnt really. Last year at Farnborough, we were weighed going on the track and we were weighed going off the track. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was a good way to get away with people cheating the system, because even if they were weighing themselves up with extra kit and ballast, at least that meant that they were on the track at that weight and they were coming off the track at that weight. I think the year before at Brighton, we were only weighed going on the track. So I'm not sure how many at this point got disqualified for weight reasons, but I believe there was at least one other. So anyway, finally get out on track. I had a kart that felt very understeery. Kept Felt like it was cutting out. I was trying to work out if it was my foot bouncing off the brake pedal, or whether the cart was actually cutting out and losing power at times. I, you know, didn't have a great time in the qualifying session. It felt very, very understeery. Handling was rubbish, but I had also been told that they'd changed the tyres to hard tyres from soft since we'd last been, so I just thought it was possibly something to do with that. So I tried to get some heat into the car as much as I could to try and get a couple of good laps in. I came off not really too sure on how I'd done, but when I come off, I was shown the times and I was down in second from bottom. And the funny thing is two of the lightweights were there with the group that we were with. And one of them asked what kart I was in, and as soon as I said 28, someone else's head swiveled and said, "Oh, I had that kart. That kart was absolutely rubbish." So right, okay. Then the one that asked me said exactly the same thing. Yeah, that kart was horrible. I was having trouble with the handling of it. It was really, horrible to drive and slow. And I think someone even said that it had a puncture or something like that. I did notice when I pulled into the pits and I pulled up, I could smell a burning smell, the slight burning smell. So I don't know if that was overheating motor or tire burning, but it definitely had a sort of electrical smell to it. So anyway, apparently that kart was rubbish. I qualified second from bottom in my group. Um, the two other people both said, "Look, report the kart. Get it taken out." I said, "Look, there is no point at this point. There is no point. It's nothing's going to happen. They're not going to do anything. If you watch my other videos, time and time again, I always bring up parts that aren't performing properly and the fact that they always get used again. They always get thrown back out into the mix. Someone else is always driving it next session. There is literally no point in complaining about things like that because it won't get you anywhere." And the best thing about this whole situation is I completely proved my own point because there was a marshal that overheard the conversation. So as he walked past, he went, was there a problem with a cart? Did you say?" And so we said, "Oh yeah, well 28, it's jet. It is really slow. It's horrible." Two other people there were like, "Yeah, no, we agree. It's really bad." And he turned around to us, go, "No, no, no. I took that out. I've already taken it out because it had already been mentioned to them. This is the point. Is it wasn't like no one had mentioned it. It had already been mentioned to him during the lightweights. So he'd already taken it out and said, "No, no, no, there's nothing wrong with a cart. There's nothing wrong with a cart. I've driven it." And yeah, it's one thing driving it around the track and driving it to a certain standard. And there's another thing driving it and being competitive with the other 8 or 9 carts that are currently on track. Now, we were promised during briefing that all the carts, the whole fleet of carts, were within 4 tenths of each other, and each group was within 2 tenths of each other. Now, the funny thing is if you can do basic maths, someone questioned this and said, "So does that mean that one group of carts is quicker than the other group of carts?" And they said, "No." Okay, so how does that work? If you've got zero point 0.4 of a second difference between the entire fleet of carts that were being used, and you've got zero point 0.2 of a second between the carts in each group, that means that one set of carts is, say, 0 to zero point 0.2, and then the last set of carts will be zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.4. So yes, there is definitely a set of carts that are slower than the other set, and it was quite funny because someone actually asked this in briefing, and they outright lied, or I don't know if it was an intentional lie, but maybe they didn't really understand what they were saying. But they said that there was no difference between the two fleets of carts; they were both equal. But they can't be equal if there's 4 tenths of a second difference between the entire fleet and only 2 seconds, 0.2 second difference between each group. One group is faster than the other group. So just be fucking honest with us. This is all we ask, is just tell us. You just lie, and it's just a team sport thing that we've just got to lie all the time. You treat us like we're stupid because we know that there's faster carts. We know there's slower carts. So the funny thing is, I did heat 1 and I pulled in heat 1 and I was at the front of the pack. And again, no names mentioned. I'm not getting any marshals in shit here. But one of the marshals turned around, went, "That car is a rocket ship," pointing at one of the ones coming in. And the marshal standing next to them looked at me, went, trying to shush them. And they looked at me and went, "Oh, they know." And I went, "Look," I said, "You kidding, right? If you think that we don't know that some karts are quicker than the others, you know, don't treat us stupid." And then and one of the marshals was all right, and they were like, "Well, yeah, you know, it is what it is." And the other marshals, were getting all panicky because they just admitted finally that some karts are quicker than the others. You know, for the first fucking time ever, like we know, just stop fucking lying to us. You do not make the karts competitive within 0.2 of a second. It's bullshit. We know that they're slower karts. So anyway, let's prove a point. At least 2 people in lightweights, just from the people that I happen to be standing with, had both said that kart 28 was a bag of shit. I thought it was a bag of shit. My times were crap. It went out in heat 1. It started, I don't know where it started exactly. I started 8th out of 9th. It was ahead of me somewhere. It was about 6th or 7th. It finished last, and the guy retired the kart before the end of the race, because what is the point when you're dead last in a kart that isn't competitive whatsoever? And he retired the car. Now, yes, okay, so I qualified 2nd from last, so you could argue, well, it obviously wasn't, maybe I had managed. All right, so there's another car that wasn't brilliant, but I managed to drive faster than one person. You know, that is a situational thing. Maybe it was that I'm not as bad driver as maybe the car would suggest. So anyway, yes, I was faster than one person, but for heat 1, it got retired. For heat 2, it came dead last after again starting somewhere in front of me. It may have been, I think that time it might have started directly in front of me. The one behind me overtook, and I then got past him and someone else. So yeah, again, 28 was crap in qualifying, crap in heat 1, crap in heat 2, crap in all the lightweight series. And then to make it even better, when it comes to the semi-finals, I was in the kart in front of kart 28, and the marshal come along and said, "Oh, who's going in 28?" And the other marshal says to him, "Oh, nobody. They've decided that they don't want to use that kart in the semi-finals." So I was like, "What?" They were like, "Oh, well, yeah, they're taking the cart out." I was like, "All right." So it wasn't the fact that 3 of us complained about the cart that you didn't bother removing it out. It wasn't that, you know, you saw like everyone doing shit in it all day. Obviously, you know, a massive time deficit to, you know, their normal times and everyone else in the pack. It got retired early, but no, all of a sudden now you want to take it out in the semi-final. And to be honest, by that point, that was unfair. You know, I'd used it, 2 other people had used it in our group. So now all you've done is you've now stopped someone using it, and they've dodged a bullet, haven't they? Because now they're going to be put in a cart that is significantly better, because let's be honest, I could walk around that fucking track and be quicker. So, you know, you've now to take it out at that point rather than the point at which we'd actually complained about it is just damn right stupid. Because at that point you've just got to roll with it, because you've already ruined 3 people's day by giving them that car, and you've saved the 4th person's day. Like, but why is that fair to the rest of us? We all had to drive it. We all had to put up with it. So if you've taken it out because it's not performing right, then that's not then fair on the 3 people that have already driven it in that group, you know? So fucking just listen to us. Like, this is what we always say. Well, what I always say in a lot of my videos is listen to us. When we say there's something wrong with a car, and this is the other thing in briefing, they said, "Oh, we're not entertaining any kart complaints unless there is a physical, mechanical problem with the car." Right. Well, this is again something that we used to like about BIKC and generally team sport in general, I'd say. Like the attitude to karts used to be, if you're not happy with your kart, come and change it. And I used to be pleasantly surprised that and the marshals never really had a problem. If you was out on track and you didn't like the kart, you could come in, you could swap it. Now, last year at Farnborough, they said to us we were welcome to do that. And basically with a caveat that, look, we have chosen the best karts for you to go out in. If you want to come in and change it, we have spare karts for you. But as far as we're concerned, we've already given you the faster kart. So you're potentially coming in and changing it for a worse kart. Now, I think that's a fair caveat because it could be that the kart has developed a problem. I mean, we've seen it before at Docklands when the same car over and over again had a puncture week on week on week on. Um, once they pump the tire up, it might be fine for a little while, and once it goes down, it's going to perform worse. So it's perfectly feasible that the cart was working at the beginning of the day and progressively got worse throughout the day because of a slow puncture or something like that. So to give people the actual option to come and change their cart is a good thing. But unfortunately, we didn't have that option because we were told under strict terms that we were not to change our cart unless there was a physical mechanical fault with it that could, that they could physically see. So that's something else that changed this year, which has made BIKC shitter, in my opinion, as well as, relaxing the rules, not being, as strict on the contact on the track and things like that. So unfortunately, it's not been as good of an experience this year. And as well, team sport in general. I know this is about BIKC mainly, but they've started putting signs up, like, oh, you can't request carts, and that's fair. But they've started getting funny about you coming in and changing cart. Like if you come in and change your cart, they've got the ump now. The staff don't want to help you. You come in, they're oh well, oh well, I'll send you out of that. Well, no, sorry, mate. That's been brought in for the last 3 sessions in a row. Like they just don't care anymore, and it just feels like that they're not putting the effort in anymore. To make sure that people are having a good experience. So anyway, right, moving on. Some more people got disqualified. I think again, I'm struggling to remember the exact, but I think at least one other. I know at least one other got disqualified for concealing ballast on their person, and another was reported for having weights in their helmet, and their helmet got stripped down to find weights. Now, I can't be 100% sure if they actually found weights. I can't remember the outcome of this particular drama, but I know the person that was smuggling weight uh, got removed, and the irony of it was even without the weight they still made the minimum weight. So they got disqualified for cheating and carrying ballast, which is against the rules, which I will put up. But they didn't even need to do it. So again, they just screwed their own race, really. Worn some rib protectors or some knee pads or something, you'd have been all right. But, a bag of beanbag or whatever it was, big no. And if someone did put shit in their helmet, I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard. That's really dangerous. If you did have a big smash, and your head goes flying, that extra weight is gonna damage your neck at the best. So if you did that, you're a fucking idiot. So I think we're gonna go to a few clips now where I'm going to talk about some things that happened and just want to discuss really a couple of things. So we're going to start it from here. We're currently in our qualifying positions for this first heat. So lovely move there by number 20. He slotted that in, absolutely beautiful. And look at the kart that we are chasing. Of course, it is kart 28. That was utter dog shit. So, already we're looking at places where we might be able to overtake him. noticing that he's having to take a very wide line around all of these hairpins, and that is because the cart handles like shit, so you have to take those wide lines to get around the corner, otherwise it will just understeer and stuff. So I'm looking for an opportunity to overtake. It wasn't one there, but it wasn't long before I saw a gap and I went for it and managed to get the job done there. And I was quite happy with that one. That worked out really well. So I'm now closing down on kart 20, I think it is, which was another kart that I had later on, which was in the semi-final, I believe, and it was very understeery. You had to really drive it in a different way to get it to drive well. It's really the only way I could describe it. It wasn't a slow like 28. I wouldn't say it was a dog shit kart, but it was one that you really had to change your driving style to get it to do what it needed to do. So yeah, so we're closing down on 20, like slowly-ish, but we are closing in on him, and we gained a lot of time then. And now we're sort of in the position again of thinking about a place to overtake him and trying to work out his line as quick as we can so we can look for a place to overtake. And again, I'd sort of earmarked the spot that I got the last person in, because he takes a very wide line as well. And again, I think this is mainly due to the kart, because this kart, again, because it was understeery like 28 was, you had to take really wide lines to get it to actually go around the corner, as you can sort of see that he's having to do here. So I had sort of eyed up a place to make a dive, and I was just looking for an opportunity, really. I don't think I was looking to do anything stupid, but obviously I had to try and make up positions due to the bad qualifying. So I was definitely looking at making a move at some point, and the clock's ticking, obviously. So you don't have many opportunities in these races to make overtakes. So sometimes you've just got to take them when you think you can. And I thought I could here, and you know what? It was completely my fault. I put myself in the wall. You see, I wasn't even angry. I was just like, whoops. Yeah, really uncharacteristic for me. I'll be honest. It was just a poorly planned move. Maybe I just didn't. If I'd have been a little bit closer to make that move, it would have been fine. But yeah, basically now I'm down at the back of the pack, and I've now lost a position on my starting position. So this today really wasn't going well. I qualified badly at this point. I then crashed myself out in heat 1. And give him his dues. The guy in kart 20 apologised to me after and said, like, you know, sorry mate, I didn't see you coming there in time. And yeah, I said to him, honestly mate, it was my own fault. It was a dive that I shouldn't have done and I shouldn't have taken at that point. So I put myself out of that one. But the ironic thing is I'm now looking for an overtake on kart 20 again, and really caught me by surprise that he pulled off the track there. I wasn't expecting to, but that goes to prove that I managed to overtake kart 28, crashed myself into the wall, and then was looking to overtake the same kart again, like very soon after. It wasn't even a long time, you know. It was like within a lap. So it just goes to prove how bad kart 28 was. And these are good drivers, you know. Everyone here is good, and this is the point. Is, you know, these are the top 6 drivers from 4 different tracks. So all of these drivers are pretty close in competitiveness, and to have such a gap like that. But I think I did a really good job here. Obviously, we've now taken 28 again, so we're back into our starting position. And now we're closing down onto his name's just eluded me, but I was standing with him all day. But it's one of the other Docklands drivers anyway, which qualified. Johnny Chan, I think it is. No, maybe not Johnny. I've honestly just forgotten, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But yeah, we were actually found that we were closing him down. Jimmy fan? Oh yeah, stop it. So yeah, I mean, not much to see here really. We're just closing him down, but I'm gonna let it run because I think something does happen when we catch up with him. I think we make a move. I mean, this kart felt nice. I instantly, the second I got in it, you know, I turned the first corner and it was just straight away. It was a pleasure to drive. It really was compared to 28. And okay, my hard drive space ran out, so I skipped ahead a little bit. We caught up and was now looking for a move on kart 24 here. Really was on his bumper this time, so I thought maybe I could make this move stick, and I did. We had a little bit of collision, and that was a fair move by all accounts. Um, he probably wasn't too happy about it, but that was more than a fair move. I mean, you couldn't even see the point where he hit me on camera, so it was right on my rear. So I was happy with that one, but I didn't really want the contact, but. I was now back in a position where I'd made up one place, so I was here hunting down again, trying to. We got a yellow flag. I believe. I don't think it was the end of the session. Oh, it was the end of the session. Okay. I think there was a reason why the yellow flag got pulled before we actually finished the race, but then it was the end of the session. So yeah, so we finished that session in one position up than we originally than we originally started in, so it was a net positive, even though we managed to crash, and thanks to kart 28 being dog shit, then we managed to pull that back. So let's look at the second heat, because there was something that I want to see in there as well. Okay, so here we go with Heat 2. Now you'll notice that our favourite Kart 28 is now in front of us. This guy always makes a dive into the first corner, which is something I decided to do later on, but that didn't work either. But yeah, he was aggressively trying to gain places, and that is where I got done by the same guy that I had done on exactly the same corner the lap before. And it was a perfectly fair move on his part, and to be honest, I didn't see him coming. He caught me napping a little bit because I was concentrating on what was going on ahead of me. But I am gonna, let's just rewind it a second, because I want to look at that again, because basically he really pushed me out wide and basically brought me to complete standstill. And I was like, are you gonna ever let me turn? But I think that was a bit of a fuck you, because I got him on the same place the session before, but fair play to him. He gave me a taste of my own medicine at that point, and I thought it was quite funny, to be honest, and fair game. And at least then he couldn't be bitter about me doing him there, because he done it back to me. So I thought we was quite even at that point. But yeah, so he was pushing hard this time, and managed to do a lot better than the previous heat in the qualifying. So you know, you see at the moment, as it stands, kart 28 has managed to overtake someone, being super aggressive off the start, and looking for those opportunities when people are bunched up. It's probably the best opportunity you get to overtake people most of the time in these. You know, although I think now they've changed to electric karts, there have been a few spots where you can make it viable. as we've already done. But yeah, I was looking, taking a look there if there was a way that I could return the favour on that move, but there wasn't the gap there. But yeah, now we're getting in a bit of a train held up by kart 28, and he does have a collision with 20. Now, unfortunately, I probably could have taken the inside of this and got ahead of kart 20 as well. If we look at that again, where he spins out there, I thought it was going to be a big collision sort of come my way, so I decided to go on the outside of it and got stuck behind kart 20 while Jimmy Fan goes up the inside and says, "Thank you very much, 2 positions for free." So yeah, we could have taken that on the inside and gained another position on 20 there, but we're going to do it the legit way anyway. So this now puts 28 in the back, and yeah, all right, fair play. He got spun out, but he was a sitting duck anyway to literally the 3 of us. You know, he was causing a train because of the poor performance of the kart, which I don't think I've mentioned yet, so I just thought I'd drop that in there. But yeah, we're hunting down kart 20 now. I had this kart in the semi-finals, I think, so this is the one that the guy in kart 28. So to be fair, I think he got quite unlucky with his karts because he had kart 20 in the last race and 28 in this one, and they were both probably the 2 worst karts in our session, but this 20 wasn't as bad. It was just very understeery, so you had to change the way you drove it to make it perform. So yeah, I'm now looking for a place I can take 20, and nearly made some contact there because I wasn't expecting him, and we've got a red light. So I think someone's cart broke on the hill to the right of us. I don't really know what broke with it, but yeah, for some reason they was stopped at the top of the hill. He rolls down the hill, but I honestly don't know how that came about, whether they were actually stuck there or what. But let's just skip through. So basically, we restarted the race under yellows and got going again. We had a few laps of not really much happening, so I'm sort of skipping ahead. We're looking for an opportunity to overtake 20. 20 is looking for an opportunity to overtake 3, so it's kind of one of those situations where he's attacking but has to be aware of what's behind him at the same time. So we are looking for a move, and I took a move. That was probably another questionable one, and I don't think he was very happy with that. He gave us a bit of a bash. If we look at it again, let's go back to here. You know, I'm trying to eye it up, and again he just sort of went left. So I thought, well, there's a gap there, and I'm going for it because I have to make positions up. You know, I'm having to take risks that I wouldn't normally take, if I'm honest, just because I have to make up positions. Otherwise, there's no point in being here because, you know, I've got to give myself the best chance to get through on the semi-final. But, you know, at this point, you know, the rule of being 50% alongside the kart, we are, you know, 100% alongside him. Our front wheels are in line before we even make any sort of contact. You can see by the way his front wheel is angled that he's obviously sliding it a bit, so there's probably not anywhere he can go unless he's sort of taking evasive action. But at that point, I made the dive. I made it stick. I got more than 50% up the inside, and I made it to the apex before him. So that was a fair move. Not one that I like to make, but it was by their own rules. It's fair. So you know, there we go. But yeah, a little bash back from him. He didn't want to give out that easy, but you know, fair play. Probably a bit frustrated by me coming up the inside like that, but unlucky. Oh, and another bash as well. And at that point, I was like, yeah, all right, you know, give it up now. Like, you know, you haven't seen me ramming anyone up the arse at all. So, like, look for an overtake. Don't just ram people because you're pissed. But not really sure anything else too exciting happens here. I might get a bump or two. I don't think there's too much long left on the session either. We're sort of trying to hunt down number 3, but I feel we maybe start gaining on him slowly once we sort of get a bit of free air from being rammed up from behind. We can start driving a proper line, and I think we do start catching him up. I'm gonna reiterate that the moves that I'm doing here are the ones that we saw in the lightweights that were deemed fine. The difference is actually that I'm not ramming people to throw them offline before making these moves, and that is the big difference. That's what the whole issue has been about. Was about in the lightweight category. Like, there's nothing to do with me. I didn't get involved in it, but you know, I was there and saw it, and I saw people's point of view, and saw it happen live. And yeah, you know, if it's a rule that you can be 50% or more alongside, and then you can stay in it, then that's fair play, although it leads to a few dirty moves like that because you're literally just throwing the kart in front of people. But to ram someone first, to throw them off of line to create a gap that you can then throw your kart into, that's dirty, and that is not playing by the rules. But unfortunately, because no penalties were given out for it, then that opens the door to everyone else to do it. And then that kind of creates a bit of a shitty situation, because then it really degrades the quality of the driving for everyone. Because, you know, if other people are doing it, then you have to do it as well to compete. But so I didn't. My main goals here were just to have a bit of fun and to get into the final. We discussed it on the way down, and my biggest objective was to make it to the final for myself and Dan. We just wanted to go in the final. We didn't think we'd finish in the top 3 at the final. The trouble is, the way things had gone, it was looking like it was very unlikely that we were going to make it into the final. Dan already had, actually. I'm not talking for we. Dan drove really well. He believe he started 5th in the semi-final, and the top 6 advanced to the final, and he ended up finishing 4th. Now that is checkered flag. We're done. So that is the end of the session. Again, we finished one position. We finished one position up from where we started, so it was a net gain again. And the difference here was Jimmy in front of us had started behind us, so he had overtaken us, but we had overtaken 2 other people which had started ahead of us, so that actually gave us a better outcome. So basically, me and Jimmy would be on level points, because, or I may have actually had better points than Jimmy at this point, because I'd finished ahead of him, started ahead of him in the first race, and then he finished ahead of me by overtaking me, but had also overtaken 2 other people, but I then overtook those 2 people who were higher than me in the points. So I think overall I probably was ahead with Johnny by 1 point, but we may have been even. But we got separated for the semi-final anyway, so we were indifferent. So let's take a look at the semi-final. So we're getting off into the semi-final with the rolling start. And so for some reason, I took a look up the inside there and really didn't do myself any favours. I started in 7th position, and that now dropped me to 8, as far as I was aware. So my chances of making it to the grand final were slipping away, but this guy ended up the wrong way round. I'm not too sure how it happened. I'm not sure if we can see it. Let's have a look. Did he basically spun himself out. I don't think there was any contact there at all. Let's just watch one more time. He goes, no, he completely spun himself out. That's why he was probably more annoyed with himself than anything. So we're back up to 7th now. So now we just need one more position to make it into the final. We got the yellow flag. I don't know. I guess it was because of that guy, but it was quite delayed. We're off again. Just looking because we just need to take a position at this point to get us back into the running. And it's quite interesting the outcome of this race actually, because it's not as clear cut as I thought it was. Yeah, this was the kart that was very understeery. I think it was kart 20. So I was literally sending myself into the barriers at some point. Now, he made a lovely dive here, and I managed to defend from it. I don't think I really expected. I knew, so basically my game plan at this point was, I was in, so I was in 6th position here. I wasn't in 7th. Now he spun me out here, which I wasn't too happy about, and we'll have a look at that. But just quickly, I believe at this point I was actually in 6th position. I didn't need to make any more positions up, so I was trying to defend the best I could, but I didn't really want the pack ahead to get away. I wanted to try and keep them within range, so I was defending, but not too heavily, and nearly gave the kart behind an opportunity to overtake back there. But I managed to get the switch back and keep it. But yeah, so along here, he always, I always saw him. He always came across really far to the left on this corner, and I wasn't really expecting him to again make another dive at this point. But that is where he decided to make a move, and you can see, you know, the 50% rule. He's actually made contact with basically where my rear wheel is, and that's definitely not 50% alongside. So. In this case, I think it was his fault. And he spins me out. I mean, luckily, I've been out. I think I get spun out twice in this race in a similar way. But I managed to not get stuck or go all the way round. So it was actually not too detrimental, but obviously it allowed the karts ahead to get further ahead. So it meant that, again, I really had to defend this position now because I've been taken out here. The karts ahead have just really gapped us. But luckily, you know, I've got quite quick reflexes on the counter steering from basically doing a lot of drifting. So it's very rare that you'll see me facing the wrong way in these things, even when getting pushed. But yeah, so here we are. He's just looking for that opportunity now. He's obviously got the pace on me in this situation. This kart very understeery. As we chased this kart in previous session. I believe this is kart 20. So we'd managed to overtake this kart. And even after the race, he said his kart felt fantastic. So again, I'm defending, but not too harshly, because I don't want to let the front of the pack get away too much. But it was probably too late for that, if I'm honest. But we've got to stick at it. So at the moment, I believe that I'm in 6th position when I'm on the track. That's where I think I am. So I'm defending and thinking, like, normally I could hold a position for an entire race, but this is what changes. So, matey there, I don't know what happened. He was just going really slow. I genuinely don't know what happened, and I had sort of, I don't know why he just turned in and pushed me a bit into the wall there, but yeah, I don't really know what was wrong with him. So now we're actually in 5th position, but for some reason I still thought that we were in 6th at this point. So that's when we gained 5th, and that makes sense now. But I think I don't know. I honestly don't know what I was thinking. I think maybe in my head, because 11 had come past me and then I had defended against him again, maybe in my head that I'd lost a position to him because I was in the belief that I was in 6th position at this point in the race. So I was really holding on for dear life to try and keep the position to get me into the final. We can see him taking a look again. He's all over our backside, looking for an opportunity. Again, he comes in with the rear quarter tap. I think that was definitely adventurous. You know, we're already in, and it's given us another tap. But it wasn't too bad, to be honest. In that one, you know, he was probably taking a look and then realised that he wasn't gonna make it stick, and he backed out of it. So fair play. And this time, in exactly the same place, he made the dive and actually he pulled it off really well. I I commended him for that move. He made it really smooth. In fact, let's just take another look at it, because I didn't really. I mean, I should have seen it coming because he'd had a go in the same spot the last few laps. But yeah, really, I went to turn in and he was just there. You know, but there's something that I want to talk about actually on this, because it's something else that's going to come up in the final. But at this point, you know, like I've started turning in, right? So I'm turning into the corner. At this point, he's coming up the inside, and it's a slightly different situation, I granted, but it's just something I want to point out as a bit of a caveat to something that happens in the final. Um, but I'm already turning in at this point. Now I could have continued. You know, I've already started straightening the wheel at this point because I've seen him there, um, and you know, I've turned in and seen him there, and I've instantly, you know, opened up my wheel again, um, and I've gone wide to allow him the space. Now, if I'd have carried on in my trajectory when I turned in, we'd have definitely had a collision, and I think I'd have probably crashed into his front wheels. Let's see if this works. You know, if I'd have continued my trajectory towards the corner, maybe more like that, then we would have collided. You know, probably our front wheels, and I'd have been pushed out. It'd have probably still made it through, but it would have been really messy. So I opened up the steering wheel. I let him through. I gave up the position at that point. And I'm not necessarily saying this is a direct comparison to the next thing that I want to talk about, but definitely definitely something worth noting. Now I've got my drawing tool stuck on the screen. I don't know how I'll get rid of that. So anyway, moving on. It was a lovely move actually on his behalf. In the end, it took him a couple of tries, but he pulled it off in the end. So probably deservedly. But yeah, I'm now getting bashed from behind for some reason. When he made that move, the other person, because obviously I was causing a little bit of a train behind from defending. So the guy behind was just bashing me at every corner, every opportunity, as you do. So at this point, I thought I was 7th, and this is the semi-final where the top 6 go through. He got a warning sign there, so that was for spinning me out like 3 or 4 laps ago. At the time, I thought there's no way you got that for the overtake, and they did clarify it at the end and explained to him that said, look, the warning sign that you got was for what happened like 6 laps earlier. And yeah, we discussed it after the race and both agreed that that was probably what it was for anyway. So yeah, I'm sitting here thinking that I'm in 7th now, and that I haven't got a chance to make it into the final. Dude spins me out, and yeah, so this is another one. So he does give the position back. It's another one where he is not 50% alongside me. Otherwise, you'd see him in the camera. It was pretty much like the last one. He caught my rear corner, and he acknowledged it and made sure I gave the place back, which obviously meant that he wouldn't get a penalty for it as well. But yeah, you can see he's not 50% alongside. So bang, and I really wasn't expecting that. It actually took me by surprise. And, he gave the position back, so fair play to him, because he could have ended up with a penalty in that situation. I don't know if I'm honest. I don't know if he would have held the position at that point. Yeah, he probably would have done, to be honest. I definitely wouldn't have given it up without a fight after that point, so I'd have had nothing to lose at that point. But I thought we were 7th anyway. Like I say, I genuinely thought we were in 7th position. So yellow flag comes out. I think this is the end of the race anyway. So something happened up ahead, I think. Maybe it's not over yet. Yeah, I was my thought process here was basically that we were in 7th, but I decided to stick with it in case somebody got a penalty, or someone ahead got spun out, which had obviously just happened there, but nowhere near us to make to be able to catch up. But the guy in the green and black behind us was on our ass for a lot of the time. And then I suddenly managed to hook up a good couple of laps. The thing is with this kart, with being very understeery, eventually it does get some heat in the front tyres, and it starts to improve near the end of the session. And I'd adjusted my driving style. Like I was having to brake here, which I would never normally brake in any other car, but by braking there, it gave me a bit more front end grip to get around that corner, and various things like that. I just managed to adapt to the car as it got, unfortunately, towards the end of the session. So I did eventually start to pull away from him, and I think I started to catch back up again to matey in front, but I didn't really have any prospect of making a position back at this point, and we were going to come in as 7th, so I believe. But we was actually 6th, so yeah, I just missed an overtake somewhere, and I don't know why I hadn't blocked it, but I think right from the beginning I must have got it wrong, because I'm sure when I overtook, well, this is the guy that's now behind us, I'm sure when I overtook him originally I'd calculated that in, so I just got it wrong somewhere, and basically I was racing a complete different race, because at this point I thought we were out. So luckily I did stay in it, because this kart was horrible to drive and I wasn't really enjoying myself. So I think in some circumstances I'd have just pulled it in myself and gone, yeah, I'm done now. I decided to stick with it to the end, because penalties and things can happen. This is where we had started to put a bit of a gap, I think, on the green and black suit behind us. I think he was in kart 14 from memory. and that was a nice car actually. That was the one I had in Heat 1 that was performing really well, but I missed out for myself by crashing. Yeah, I don't think from here on out, I don't think he really had another opportunity to try and make a move, because we did start just pulling away from him by a kart length or so, after a couple of good laps, and some tactical boost button presses. And there's the last lap there, so I mean, I completely overshot that corner because the boost kicked in quite late. I was mashing it down straight, um, and it didn't come in until like halfway down the straight. So I actually nearly stuffed it up for myself there, um, and sent myself off wide. But yeah, again, just having to brake on this corner was weird, but it was what I had to do to keep the front end in check. And then that is the race over. So again, I was fully convinced that we finished. Oh, he's not green, he's yellow. I was fully convinced that we finished in 7th at this point, and that was going to be the end of the road for us. But yeah, I guess I'm just leaving this bit in because I just want to show the point where I actually realised that we'd qualified. So one of the lads in the pit let me know.
No, you're right. Mean to hit you. The overtake was fair. Huh? The overtake was fair. No, I didn't mean to take you out there.
Yeah, and I see Lucas in the background like waving and clapping, and I was like, "What?"
I think Lucas just saying I was 7th. Yeah, no, the overtake was fair. I think you got the warning for nearly spinning me out before. They said I got warning for 6 laps ago.
So we are on to the final now. So we qualified dead last for the final race. I can't remember. Kart 31 this was. I don't think I'd seen it out before, so I don't really know. Didn't really know anything about it. It's been very cold. I was trying to get a bit of heat into the tyres while we was doing our lap. I did try and catch up here because I sort of got left behind a little bit, but there was a big gap in the middle as well. So they runched around again. I'm not sure if that was my fault. I think gap in the middle might have not been great as well. So yeah, we went round again. The trouble is you end up like a slinky, is that they accelerate and then they brake and accelerate and brake, and I think it's the only time I actually hit someone from behind in the entire race. And a load of others did as well, because it was just the slinky effect is a bit awkward, because they speed up and then they slow down, speed up, slow down. So yeah, it's a little bit awkward, and yeah, everyone has a bit of a pile up at the bottom of the hill, and mate in the blue suit there ends up not in line with everyone, and yeah, it's a bit messy. But we're basically starting dead last, so I've got no one behind to worry about. And now at this point, I've made it to the final. This is what I wanted to do. Now my only objective here was to not finish last at this point. I was like, well, I'm here. I don't really want to finish last in the final, which no one ever does today. So I was like, right, well, make it not last, and we've had a good day, basically, in the end. So yeah, we're away, and to be honest, I sat back here on purpose because I know that there's going to be quite a lot of hustle and bustle. I've got no one behind me to pressure me, so I thought I'd sit behind, try and work everything out, try and work out what everyone's doing, and look, someone's almost gone around by himself, so already it's sort of bunched up a bit at the back here, and a bit of hustle and bustle. He's lost a position there. Mate in front of us had looked for an opportunity but didn't quite make it. But we are now activating race mode, working out that, you know, number 12 is looking a bit weak, so we can probably take him. 23 is back here with us, so we're definitely going to be looking for a move on him at some point, because at the end of the day, it's the final now. The likelihood of any of us getting up to third is incredibly slim, but you know, penalties and things, it can happen. But I just want to make as many places as possible now. and to have a good race. And to be honest, this is probably the most fun I had all day. Sitting at the back here, I'd say not really pushing yet. I think I'd say I don't know if the kart hadn't been out before, but it was very cold and took a little while to get some heat into the tyres. But yeah, they're starting to slide out and things up ahead, which has let me catch up again. Seems like number 12's having a bit of a problem at the bottom of the hill. So we store that in our memory bank. And yeah, 23 goes and unfortunately spins it out. Let's take another look at that. I think this is another one of those cases where the 50% rule, it's hard to see from our video. But obviously I don't think he got a penalty for it, so he's probably okay. But it's another point where this 50% rule is, I don't necessarily agree with it. You know, at that position, I think number 12 had the corner. It was his corner. He had the line. It was his. He was already turning in. Okay, so my phone rang and I forgot what I was talking about. So yeah, let's carry on. Oh yeah, we was taking a look at that again, wasn't we? Which yeah, I think it was one of them. Number 23 there likes to go for that move, which I'd seen so many people do it. I started to do it myself. He was probably 50% alongside, and that's what happens. And this is why I honestly don't agree with the 50% rule. He's looking at me. Look, I don't know why he's looking at me. Well, my fault. But that's why I generally don't agree with the 50% rule. I don't necessarily think that this is a fair move. He had the line, he had the corner ahead. But according to their rules, is if you're 50% alongside them, then you've made the move and you're allowed to do that. So I learned from that and I start doing it myself because fuck it, why not? If everyone else can do it, then I'll do it. He did apologise to matey behind, but you know, by then, you've already ruined someone's race at that point. And that's where, say, they used to, when things like that happened, if it wasn't the person's fault, then they would stop the race and reposition people, and they weren't really keen on doing that. They did do it once in the lightweights. I saw it happen, but I think their stance is they don't really want to do that too often. And we was pressuring this guy quite a bit, especially on the corner where he made that overtake. He goes super wide and like drags his arse end along the tyre barrier, which probably gives him a good exit out of it, but it really doesn't give him a good entry into it. We're trying to catch him up, and again, look, he doesn't do it that time. Maybe it's the next lap, but it's where we gain a lot of time on him in that position. But we are trying to close the gap on him. Sends it a bit sideways there and loses a bit of time again. So we're just chipping away. We're chipping away at him and then paying close attention to what he does with his line. See, again, he's quite wide there. It wasn't too bad, actually, on that occasion. And now we're starting to catch up with some others. Our guy Dan is there, in the black helmet, just ahead. So I know some of the viewers. There we go. Look, he's done it again. He sort of slid it into the wall all the way back, so it helped us catch up with him. But yeah, some of the other guys wanted to see me and Dan battle it out. I don't know, they thought it'd be funny to see us fight for position, so, you know, they got their wish in the end. I think we're tactically we're going on some tactical boosts now to try and close the gap between the people in front. So obviously we're quite close, but we're not quite on top of him at the moment to make a move. I'm trying to remember. I think it might be. So we didn't. Oh, we boosted down the straight here. And that has closed us up quite nicely, and we actually got around that corner really nice, which is probably the hardest part, I would have thought. I think to get around that corner nicely. But yeah, basically Dan up ahead in kart 1. Just he felt like his kart was losing power towards the end of the race, so it was just getting slower and slower as he went on. He slid out quite a bit there, which lost him a bit. I think this is a move. Yeah, look at that. So I'm actually quite proud of that one. He was looking for an opportunity to overtake Dan. Pulled it back. Pulled it back a little bit too far, but we'll go for it. So you know, at this point, he's looking for an opportunity to overtake Dan. Dan sort of slid a bit, lost a lot of speed, and he's sort of gone from the outside. Realised he can't make it around the outside. He's looking in the middle. Realised he can't do that. Swung back to the outside, and I said, "Well, thank you very much." While you're busy swerving all over the track looking for a way through, I'll just dive through. Then he gave me a punt up the arse. I hit the boost button there. I don't know if it done anything, but I was just trying to pull myself away from him a little bit. I don't think he was too happy with that, but it was super smooth, and I was quite proud of that one. So now up ahead we have our boy Dan, and I definitely don't want to take this one out because I'd have to sit in a car with him for 2.5 hours on the way home. So don't want to upset him. If there's one person you don't want to upset, it's the person that you came in the car with. But I definitely want to overtake him because you know what? It's the final race. We're nowhere near the front. We're not going to win. We're not going to get through. So I was definitely intending on making him race for it. That's what it's about, really. And you know, like I say, this is probably the best race of the day. We've already made 2 positions, I think. It took us a while to close them down, to be honest. I was struggling to close the gap, and then all of a sudden I just managed to hook it up and got a couple of good laps. I think I haven't used a boost here. Do I use it on the straight? No, not yet. So I believe I use it on the next 2 laps to close the gap up. But yeah, I just was not really closing the gap at this point anymore. But I suddenly get my head into check and put in a couple of really good laps. We've used our boost here, try and close up a bit the gap, but it really nicely around there, which is the one corner that I'm just not keen on. Nicely round there, the arse head rotating a bit and a tiny bit of counter steering on there, but no, this is just genuinely where I started to put it together and getting some really nice laps. And this is where I feel we're really closing them down now, the 2 ahead. Yeah, we're nearly within striking distance. so I'm thinking this could be quite fun. And there was a slight gap starting to materialise between the green and black suit ahead and number one in front of us. So I knew that this was lining up to be a good time to attack, because he wouldn't be right on the bumper of someone else. So it would give me an opportunity to attack. And I think I've boosted there. Yeah. And really just on him now, and I just tucked it around, and that was a beautiful move. I gave him a thumbs up. That wasn't anything. I wasn't protesting. I was giving him a thumbs up. He thought it was a he thought it was a victory thumbs up, but it was a more of a cheers, mate, for not turning into me and wiping us out, because he could have turned in then, but he left the door open and we got the move done. In fact, let's take a little look back at it. Because I'm looking in the inside, and he's left quite a big gap. And yeah, I've just managed to bring it fully alongside him and get through. And in fact, we do have his perspective on there too, which I may dump in the video. But yeah, now basically we're now trying to chase down the next one in front of us. So we're having a pretty good race, to be honest. We've done 3 people, and now we've got a little bit of time left to have a look to see if we can take a 4th. Yeah, we all of a sudden we seem to be closing the gap after sort of not much happening for a couple of laps, but don't know if he's starting to drive a defensive line because he knows we're behind him, and that might just compromise his times a bit more. But definitely felt like the end of the session was looming. So if I wanted to do anything, I would have had to be thinking about doing it soon. So it was probably at this point I'm within striking distance, and I'm thinking about where I can make a move and make it stick, and not really leaving as much gap there or here. He's now driving a very defensive line, so it makes it awkward when someone is driving the defensive line, because when you go for an overtake, you tend to make contact more, because obviously they're out of position defending, so it makes the overtaking opportunities a lot tighter. But I'm definitely within striking distance, just looking at where I can make a move. I think I've even saved my boost to make a move at some point. And now I've seen the last lap sign and I've come up here, and he actually went left and opened up a gap, and I went for it. And I'm going to be honest, I think it was a bit of an adventurous move on my part. I'm going to analyse this a bit more. Why have I gone back so far? Lost it. There we go. So I mean, I just want to explain why. Oh, it was no, it's all right. I just want to explain my thought process here. It's the last lap of the final race. We're in eighth and ninth, and we've got nothing to gain here. We've got nothing to lose. More importantly, we're not in the top three, so I wanted a bit of fun, and I wanted to make a move before the end of the race, because I've been sort of lining up a move for a couple of laps. He was defending, driving a defensive line, so I felt like I needed to make at least one attempt. Whether or not this was the right place to do that, I'm not really sure. I'm not convinced myself. It's not really a move that I'm proud of, and not really one that I would make normally. But as it explains, the way it was going, with basically people being able to send it up the inside, and take people out, as long as you're more than 50% alongside them, that had basically become the trend of the day, or the event, or the BIKC, I guess now is how it is. Um, so this has basically become the norm, and as I've said a few times, I don't really agree with it, and I personally think that if um, if it wasn't the rule, the 50% rule, then I'd have probably deserved a penalty for this overtake. But considering the rule is the 50% rule, I don't think I've done anything wrong. So let's just analyze this sort of frame by frame. Uh, so now at this point, he actually turned left a little bit and opened the gap up. I was still in two minds whether I was going for this move at this point. I super tight on the inside, and he hadn't really left me much room here at all. Um, so I wasn't really sure at this point if I was going to make this stick. And then he actually swerves over to the left to give himself a swing in to slide round, because he was driving so defensive. He was up the middle. He was up the inside. He was driving a defensive line, so he should have been taking this path. But he turned left right here, and actually opened up a gap here, which was plenty big enough for me to get in. I think if it had been a few seconds beforehand, I don't think I'd have really made that stick, because he didn't. There was I could have rammed through there, but if he'd have turned in from here, and covered the corner, then I wouldn't have had an opportunity. Let's just put it that way. If he'd have turned in here, then that would have just shut the door on me straight away. But he actually turns left, um, or opens his wheel at the very least to go over here to swing himself in, and that opens a gap for me. And unfortunately, at this stage of the race, I was ready to take that gap. So yeah, I'm not really proud of it. And by this point, he's rotated his kart. He probably hadn't even seen me until this point, if I'm honest. And at this point, I've literally got nowhere to go. If I stamp on the brakes, I'm probably going to end up face first in the tyres. Um, if I'd have even stopped in time. He's already turned in, and his wheels are facing to go around the corner. So from this moment on, I think we were both passengers in whatever was about to happen. But I've contacted him. Um, there's no shadow of a doubt that I am more than 50% up above him. We're literally side by side at this point, even though he's got a bit of rotation in his kart. Where we've collided is here. That's his front wheel, and that's just in front of my front wheel. So there's no shadow of a doubt that I was more than 50% on the inside. And this is where I think the rule's a bit shit, because um, it was, again, it was really his corner to have. But the trend now is just to make stupid dives like this, and that's how you get away with it. So not proud of that move, and I did apologise to Paul after us, and I think he was a bit miffed by it, and he said to me, "Do you think it was a fair move?" And I said, honestly, I think technically it was. I was more than 50% up alongside, which I was. And even on the way home, I was in doubts whether this was a fair move. But Um, According to the rules, it was a fair move. So unfortunately, that's where we're at. And yeah, he sort of bounced him round, and then he spun out. And I did apologise, you know. But at the end of the day, I didn't ruin his race. It was the last race. Neither of us were coming third at this point. If this was a battle for the podium, I'd have obviously been looking for a place to take him, but I don't think I'd have even taken that move myself, because there was a high chance that I could have wiped myself out there as well. So if I was battling for a third place, it wouldn't have been the time to do it. So I definitely wouldn't have performed that in a different circumstance. I'd have looked for another opportunity to do that in the race. But yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day, and that's racing. Many a time those moves pulled off. Sometimes they didn't. So um, definitely an interesting day for me, because I don't normally make moves like that at all. And there was a few there that I made. Some of them worked out perfectly, and some of them not so great. So there's definitely something to take away from that. But yeah, there was why I would brought up that sort of move on that the other guy done to me on this next corner, because it was basically the same situation where he I could have turned in, I could have carried on turning in and had a collision. He would have ended up ahead, and I probably would have ended up spun out. So it was just one of them things. But unfortunately, I don't think there was really anything wrong with the move on paper. I'm just not genuinely not proud of it, because I always am proud of myself for being a very clean racer, and there was a couple that weren't so clean. So yeah, I think that is us for BIKC for this year. Best of luck to let's have some full camera back. Best of luck for the ones that got through to the final. We'll be watching on the live stream. Um, and I think I've ranted enough about certain things, so I don't think there's really much else to say. We will be back at some point. I think we're going to take a little bit of a break from karting. We're in no rush to go back to um, Docklands for various reasons. Mainly because of the travel. If I'm honest, it's a long slug for us, which I've mentioned in other videos. The traffic is a nightmare. London's a nightmare. Um, we love the track, but unfortunately, a lot of the times we get there and end up having problems with karts and things. Uh, it can make it a bit of a waste of time sometimes. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're probably going to hit up Basildon again before Christmas, because that's a bit more local for us. We just don't enjoy the track as much. Um, so yeah, well, there'll be another video out probably before Christmas of some antics at Basildon. But I have got hard drives full of karting footage, so I might even go through some of that and upload some other bits and pieces. But this has been a very different video for me. I don't normally put the camera on. I don't normally talk too much. But I decided to do something a little bit different today, because it is the end of the road for the BIKC for us, and there was quite a lot of things that I wanted to talk about and I wanted to discuss that I don't necessarily agree with. So I think I've got it all out there now. And if you don't agree, I'm let's talk. I've opened this up for conversation, especially around the weight rules. I just think everyone needs a defined set of rules that they need to follow that's clear for everyone. And I don't really think that the rules were unclear anyway. I think we all know that the weight limit was 75 kilos, and if you're really pushing it that much to be 74.5 and you get caught with your pants down, then I think that's unlucky, really. And it's a massive waste of time for them, and making the journey down and things, which is why you've got to make sure that you meet the weight. So As a guy, I was chatting to a marshal, and he was trying to sell their new burgers, and I told him that their new selling technique should be buy a burger and make sure you make weigh-in, because yeah, it's a shitty situation for everyone when people don't make weigh-in. So just make sure you're over is really, you know you don't need to be cutting it that fine, especially if you're such a good racer. And if you are cutting it that fine and going to lightweights, if you're struggling to put on weight, then burn lightweights. Simple as that, really. But yeah, till next time.